Hey everybody, Tut here from Dreamforge, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a simple trick for 3D printing when you're making stuff in Blender, but it's simple, but it's something that a lot of beginner modelers can struggle with. It's pretty easy, but as you can see on the screen, all we're going to do is show how to make snap fits. So basically, when you're putting stuff together, whether it be cosplay or whatever, and if you've been a 3D printer, this is probably something that you've seen done, that you see other people do. Again, it's not terribly difficult, but I figure a quick video will get it covered, and then hopefully that helps somebody out. So yeah, so this is what we're going for. Like I said, real simple snap fit joint, and then place for it to go. So we'll go ahead, we will move these back out of the way, hide these, and then we will get into the first step. So the first thing you're going to want to do, open up your new Blender or your new Blender file. Go ahead and click off of that stuff. It's not important right now. There. So first thing you want to do is make sure your unit scale is set to how it's supposed to be. So when you actually export, it doesn't make it super small when you get it into your software. So you're gonna want to come over here to where the scene properties is. Make sure your unit system's in metric. Make sure your unit scale is to 1. There is times out there where you'll see people refer to, setting this to, keeping it metric, setting this to 0.001, and then going down in the length and, taking this from meters down to millimeters. That works too, but it's really not that involved. All you need to do is make sure this is in metric, make sure this is set to 1, and then we'll bring one of these back just to kind of show what we're going to do. But when you go to export, so put on here, export your STL, and then the thing you want to make sure you have done is you have your scale set to 1, selection only, so you're not getting any parts and pieces, and then your scene unit, you leave that unchecked. After that, you export it, it'll work fine. So we're going to hide that again. And then all we're going to do, just to showcase this, we're just going to start with a simple cube, nothing too crazy. I probably am going to scale it up to 10, just so you can actually see the final result. So if you don't know how to get this panel in on your keyboard, go over here, change that to, you can change it in the scale to 5. You can change these all to 10. If you want to do all of them at the same time, you can just highlight all, hold and click, highlight, type your numbers in, go to 10. From there, make sure you're clicked on your object, press Control and A, and then hit scale. So if you are new to designing in Blender or something that you haven't done before, being able to, work in the same scale for everything is important. And then all we're going to do is, with this selected, we're going to press Shift and D. That's going to give us another one. Just click anywhere. And then all you want to do is just kind of separate these so you can see what you're doing. Quick trick to get your move cursor to show up. So if you just if you're highlighted on an object, press Shift and then spacebar, and you'll be able to bring up your move with G. Or you could just, click this little move icon over here. It'll pop up, and then just go back to your selection box. But all that aside. So click whatever object you want to have your snap on it. I'm obviously using add-ons here, but you're going to want to go into your edit mode using tab, click the face you want, and then all you're going to do is press I, and then inset this down to wherever you want your protrusion to, or how big you want your snap to be. And then the thing to pay attention to is your tolerances. So we have this at, if you look up in the top left, underneath where view, select, add, and all that stuff is, you'll see thickness, and it changes as you move your mouse. So we'll just set this to 0.5063. That's fine. Keep that number in your head, tab back into object mode, click on your second piece, click on face, click this face. You're going to want to inset this face. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a little bit of a wider spot on this side where you're going to put it. So our other one was 0.5063, so we'll make this one 0.4048. So the reason you're doing that, you want to have about a millimeter's worth of tolerance when you do this. And basically all that's going to do is allow for, as you're printing, you're going to have varying degrees of thickness on the objects, just from the printing process. So you want to make sure that you're good to go and you're not having any kind of like hard fitting connections. So go back to your first object, and then before you get too crazy, if you want, press F2 on your keyboard with your object selected, name this part 1, click the other one, F2, name this part 2, click back on the one that's going to have your snap on it, tab, go back to face, select this face, and then all you want to do is just extrude it out, however far you want it to be. It doesn't need to be drastic, it doesn't need to be crazy. And they're a little smaller, so we're going to do that just a little better. But yeah, so we'll extrude this out. Same thing, bring it out. That's fine. From here, press Control B. Control B is your bevel tool. And then what you want to do, so when you're beveling, it's good practice to use an even number of faces. They just look better. So, for an even number of segments, sorry. So, 3, 4 you don't want 3, you want 4. If you want to do more than 4, you do 6, so on. This doesn't need to be that crazy. We can just go with 6. And from there, all you're going to do, go back into object mode. You have your side that you're going to have your key on, so to speak. And then this is going to be the one that you connect to. So then all you're going to do is make this easier, because we're going to use a Boolean modifier to make the hole in this side. You're going to press Shift D to duplicate that object. Just drag it over there out of the way. And then all you're going to do is move this into here. And then I'll try to avoid using any add-ons, but this is the one that you're going to want the modifier on. Click on your modifiers tool. Go here. You can just search Boolean. Press enter. You're going to want to do a difference. So grab your little eyedropper, do a difference on that one. And then as we're moving these, you can see you're making your hole for the key to go into based off of that. So to see that better, you just press Shift Z, get into your front face. And then what you want to do is just line this up to where it's almost touching to avoid, minimal amount of sanding. If you don't want to use these, you can just press G on your keyboard and then press Y, depending on what direction you're facing. And then you want to get this not so they overlap, but just so they're close enough to leave you as little gap as possible. So from there, you just press Shift Z to get out of that. And then all you're going to do is apply it. So then when we delete this one, and the reason I made a duplicate is because I use different add-ons and they will create different things. But for the sake of time and keeping as simple as possible, you now have your piece with your key on it and your piece with the receiving end. And then from there, you're ready to export. So a couple of things. When you are making snap pieces, you don't have to round them. but you should. So 90-degree corners aren't as strong as rounded ones is really what it comes out to. So all of these edges, depending on print orientation and how you're setting up your print to be printed on your printer, could create weaknesses in here. Now, naturally, you're going to glue these. You can make friction fit, but I personally just recommend using a little bit of glue. Super glue works fine. It doesn't have to be crazy, but that's funny two ways because crazy glue. But always just use a little bit of glue. Plastic cement's nice because it'll help the plastic cement actually weld together, and then you have, but you have to take into account the fact of not only your tolerances for your print, but you're also adding glue, so it could be a little more snug. So always dry fit before you do any gluing, just as a rule. So we have our two pieces, super simple. Let's go ahead and delete that one, get it out of the way. And then all you're going to do from here is double check, make sure your scales are good, make sure your scale on this one's good, make sure you, on the piece that has the hole in it, you've applied the modifier. And then you're just going to shift, select both, go up to File, Export, export as an STL. I have this saved as a test file right now, so I'm just going to save over it. And make sure you have selection only. So you only want to take these two pieces. So from there, make sure your scenes or your scale is set to 1. Just click Export. And then you're going to see me bring up another window. Bring over your slicer. I'm using Bamboo Slicer because I have a Bamboo Labs printer. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these two out. Open up your new test file. And as you can see, here is our pieces. So disregard that ESPN going off in the background. But yeah, so what you want to do is from here, if you're using bamboo, so most slicers can do this, but you can split into different object parts so you can make them bigger, make them smaller. So all you're going to do is click off, Control click. And if you go up to your scaler, we'll scale it up 400 just so we can kind of see. But from here, you're ready to print. I mean, slice it, do your thing, but if we go ahead and we just do this, you can see that these pieces are going to fit nicely together. You've allowed a little bit of tolerance for printing. They may still be a little tight, but that's okay. You know, you can sand 3D prints as long as you're not using ABS or something like that. PLA, you can work them, connect them and disconnect them a little bit, and they'll kind of self sand. All in all, it's just going to give you a tighter fit. So from here, everything's ready to go. It'll fit nicely. You've exported them. You've created, your key. Once you print these, you're going to have a little bit of fitness issues, but it shouldn't be too bad. Well, you could potentially have fitness issues. I shouldn't say you will. It all depends on how dialed in your printer is, but most printers today are pretty good. So, but there you go. Super easy, super simple. And yeah, like I said, it's a basic technique. It's not anything incredibly difficult, but it is something that if you are new to Blender or you're new to 3D printing as a whole and you want to start making things, adding keys is a simple thing to do in Blender, and it's going to add that much more structural integrity to your final product. So I highly recommend it. I hope you enjoy the video. And if you have any questions, please ask them down in the comments. I will do my best to help. And yeah, happy printing, everybody.